For the last few centuries, we've built our entire understanding of reality on a single reassuring premise. The universe is a machine. If you can count the gears, map the math, and measure the output, you can understand exactly how it works. But right now, in the deepest reaches of particle physics and cosmology, that mechanical certainty is starting to fracture. The harder we look, the less the math adds up. When trying to explain the origins of gravity and space-time, researchers are finding that their standard equations fall short. They are literally resorting to the word magic to describe how the universe holds itself together. And it's happening in human biology too. Clinical trials using psilocybin and other new therapies are taking committed, hyper-rational scientists and turning them into reluctant mystics, generating results that completely defy clinical measurement. These aren't isolated data errors. Our equations are now too small to map reality, demanding an entirely new way of observing the universe. Take the Sombrero Galaxy. Its glowing halo spans tens of thousands of light years. For decades, we've tried to capture the sheer scale of the cosmos strictly through mass, velocity, and distance. Then we turn that exact same lens inward. We try to map human consciousness and behavior using the same cold material logic, tracking chemical spikes and mapping firing synapses. Yet in both cases, whether we are peering into deep space or deep inside the brain, pushing our measurements to the limit causes the mechanical model to break apart. It dissolves into something we cannot quantify. We are left staring at the raw experience of existence without the language to describe it. Losing that framework feels destabilizing, but it isn't a disaster. It is a necessary clearing of the path. Stripping away the numbers allows us to finally notice what has been hidden right in front of us. Nowhere is this clearer than in the modern AI laboratory, where pragmatic engineers are trying to build artificial minds entirely from scratch. Inside massive language models, you won't find a sentient core. They are made out of weights, a sea of simple numbers constantly adjusting for error. Yet out of this mathematical repetition, an emergent logic appears, an undeniable spark of understanding that surprises their coders. The intelligence exists outside the raw code itself. It lives entirely in the space between the weights, a reality that only appears when viewed as a complete system. We see a similar paradox in human creation. Take the late author Dennis Johnson. By all accounts, his personal life was deeply chaotic, a messy, tangled web of struggles. Those were his raw, individual weights. Yet from that turbulent baseline, he somehow produced immaculate, perfect prose. Whether it's an artificial neural network or a flawed human being, profound beauty is the unquantifiable output of a system that completely transcends its raw, measurable parts. This brings us to the core mechanism that bridges the gap between cold science and human mysticism. It is the simple, phenomenological act of attention. The philosopher Alan Watts proposed a very specific rule for how we experience the world. What you see is determined by what you were prepared to find. The physicist mapping gravitational waves and the artist struggling through a draft are both looking at the exact same universe, but because their internal preparation is different, they extract entirely different realities from the same source material. If you walk into a forest strictly prepared to find biological mechanics and resource competition, that is all you will ever see, a complex algorithm made of wood. But if you prepare yourself with deep, quiet attention, you begin to see the profound, unquantifiable connections holding that ecosystem together. Reality itself remains constant. It is the quality of our deliberate attention that reveals the world as a complete, interconnected system. We are building out the physical infrastructure for AI at a terrifying pace. Billions are pouring into sprawling server farms, racing to compute more data. But amid this hardware boom, the market is suddenly realizing it has a blind spot. Tech companies are seeking out experts from the humanities, hiring philosophers to work alongside their engineers. The companies at the bleeding edge of development realize that pure engineering cannot solve the alignment problem. To build a safe artificial mind, you first have to understand the ethics of consciousness. The nature of the mind is no longer a topic reserved for late-night dorm room debates. It is an urgent, practical necessity for societal survival. In a reality where machines can instantly generate and simulate material data, pure calculation becomes cheap. Deep human philosophy and self-awareness are now the ultimate premium assets, which takes us far away from the server farms to a very different kind of environment. This is Ward Hammond. He's days away from his 66th birthday. He's wearing a casual shirt, sitting on his porch in the soft morning light, looking at the spring green yard. He has maintained a mindfulness practice for 57 years. He isn't searching for anything, he isn't analyzing the lawn, and he isn't troubled by the future. He is simply noticing something that has been there all along. In a hyper-accelerated culture, we tend to mistake faster processing for wisdom. But Ward's presence suggests that understanding has nothing to do with building a sharper analytical framework. We have pushed our physical metrics to the furthest reaches of external exploration, mapping the surface of the moon and the edges of the galaxy. But human resistance in the age of artificial intelligence takes the form of a quiet observation, a refusal to measure what is simply meant to be seen. The universe does not yield its deepest truths to our equations. It reveals its profound, quiet magic only to those who have finally stopped calculating and simply started paying attention.